Judge Joe Brown's all-new barbecue sauce and seasoning. Justice in the form of flavor.
Law firms will take this as a retainer.
What? It must be a law firm where they hungry as hell. Now you gonna help me with this parole I'm dealing with?
Judge Joe Brown's all-new barbecue sauce and seasoning. Justice in the form of flavor. With one taste of our premium blends of all-natural ingredients, herbs, and spices, you'll fall in love with meat all over again. Judge Joe Brown's all-natural barbecue sauce collection is made up of 2 zesty flavors, original and spicy. There's only one way to bring order back to barbecuing. Just add Judge Joe Brown's all-natural barbecue sauce and seasoning, and you be the judge.
Your friend, old girl, judge to hear fight over Fani Willis subpoena. This came out today. Legislature's subpoena power will be put to the test on Tuesday afternoon when a judge will hear arguments over whether a state Senate committee investigating Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis will force her to testify. The fight before Fulton Superior Court Judge Shakura Ingram is a novel one. The General Assembly subpoena power has never before been scrutinized by the courts, according to legal experts. The outcome will also determine whether Willis must publicly answer potentially embarrassing questions about her romantic relationship with Nathan Wade, the outside attorney she tapped to lead her 2020 election interference case against Donald Trump and his allies. Oh, I thought I had a subscription here. I can't read the rest. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
She'd be lucky if she doesn't wind up going to jail. She might get put on probation. Might even get judicial diversion. So she gets her record expunged after she completes service of her probation period. She's a fool. And the other thing is although the Georgia Supreme Court hasn't ruled directly on the matter, they have ruled peripherally, and they have said over and over again, as is just about every other Supreme Court on the state level and the U.S. Supreme Court on the federal level, that when it comes to expenditure of public funds, the enabling legislative body has a right to check on how it's spent. So that's what they're doing. So she has a problem. She and Mr. Wade were apparently engaged in massive money laundering, and that's going to hurt.
You're going to hurt.
Yeah, in other words, what the problem is going to be very bad for her side. Now, they have 3 remedies that have been ruled upon by the Georgia Supreme Court. The Georgia state legislature is not in session currently. So that's what the dispute is about. Does this committee have the authority it has claimed is its to exercise when the legislative body is not in session? I would, on a reading of the Georgia law, say it does, but in any event, what happens is they have 3 remedies. When they come back into legislative session, which will be shortly, they can have the sergeant at arms on a resolution passed by the House to arrest physically Fani Willis and bring her in custody before the body as a prisoner, or until she pays and posts a bond. Number 2, they can go to a circuit court and get a subpoena before the circuit court, which she would need to answer as an officer of that court on pain of contempt. And thirdly, they have the additional remedy of taking retaliatory action against Fulton County, which is revoking all awards of funds or benefits to that county because of their lack of compliance. 1, 2, 3 are not pretty. And the people will suffer because she and Mr. Wade were apparently engaged in a money laundering attempt, allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. So I want to play this clip here, this news clip.
A judge will decide a battle between state lawmakers who say they have the power to subpoena District Attorney Fani Willis and the DA who says they can't do that.
Atlanta News First political reporter Doug Reardon explains what is at stake here, Doug.
Well, good evening. This is really a question about separation of powers. Someone is going to have more authority after this ruling is made, whether it be state lawmakers or state elected officials like District Attorney Fani Willis. Earlier in the year, Fulton County DA Fani Willis challenged a subpoena served to her by a state committee of lawmakers. They were investigating Willis's hallmark case against Donald Trump for election meddling and the way she paid one of the case's top prosecutors, whom it later turned out she was having a romantic relationship with.
In this matter, we're really looking at separation of powers issues.
Attorney Josh Schiffer says the question over whether Willis has to appear for testimony brings up an unanswered legal question in Georgia. What happens when lawmakers butt head with constitutionally elected local officers like DAs and sheriffs?
This is a novel and unique legal issue. This is the first time Georgia has ever dealt with a separation of powers question quite like this.
Whatever happens, one side will end up with more power in the future, but some attorneys say it has the potential to shift power dynamics for decades to come.
Right now, they're using it against DA Willis, but in the future, what's stopping them from going against Governor Kemp or going against a Supreme Court justice?
The special Senate committee disbands once the legislative session starts up again in January, so an appeal could render the case moot before a decision comes. But the legal power struggle between lawmakers and local elected officials won't end here.
This isn't an issue that's going away in the Georgia legislature. Everyone in state government is concerned with these new issues involving prosecutorial independence.
That's not what this is about. That's a mistake.
Where that larger case stands today here in Fulton County, everything has basically been put on pause for now. Willis still has the option to prosecute, but because of presidential immunity, she'll very likely have to wait 4 years until after Trump leaves office. From downtown Atlanta.
That's not even what the issue is. That's totally wrong. These are some rookies. That's like somebody got a purple belt in Aikido, and he's talking to a martial arts master who's got multiple black belts, 10th Dan, and most of them created a few things. And they're trying to talk about from the perspective of a rookie. That's what they're saying. What the issue is simple. Does a state legislative committee have the oversight capacity when it comes to monies that they've allocated to any state agency? And the answer to that in Georgia has long been yes. This is the first time anybody has challenged that. It's not that they're challenging it directly. They're just being arrogant in their assurance that they are immune. And they're saying, go to hell, we don't feel like complying with what has been deemed for years and decades a reasonable request, that an entity that gets a significant amount of funding would have to account for it. That's been since day one. So it's nothing new and novel. It's just nobody has had the gall under the current circumstances to say, you gave us the money, we don't have to explain how we spent it. That's crap. They'll lose. So not only that, when it comes out, they keep hardballing it, stonewalling it, and what's going to start coming out is money laundering and downright misappropriation of funds, both state and federal. It's going to be ugly.